Okay, here's a question for you. What do you think links, say, a round thermostat on the wall,
Hmm.
an old rotary phone, maybe one you'd see in an antique shop,
Okay.
the seat you sit in on an airplane, and even like a simple ruler from your desk drawer?
Hmm. That's quite a mix. What connects them?
Well, take a second. Think about how they feel. They all seem kind of intuitive, don't they?
Yeah, they just sort of work. You don't really fight with them.
Exactly. Almost like they were made specifically for, you know, human hands, human use.
That feeling, right? That natural interaction where something just clicks without you overthinking it.
Yeah.
That's often, well, the sign of really thoughtful design. And a huge part of that way of thinking, you can trace it back to the work of one person, Henry Dreyfuss.
Right. That's who we're diving into today,
Okay.
Henry Dreyfuss.
A guy who, interestingly enough, started out doing something completely different.
Oh, yeah. Where did he begin?
He was actually crafting illusions on Broadway stages back in the 1920s. Theatrical set design. Wow, okay. So, Broadway in the roaring 20s? That must have been something. A world where creating believable environments was everything.
Absolutely. And he was good at it, apparently. Really made a name for himself designing these immersive sets.
He clearly had a talent for that, for using the visual space to tell a story, set a mood for the audience.
But his sharp eye, the one he developed in the theater, it wasn't just focused on the audience's view. He started noticing things backstage, too.
Ah, the practical side of things.
Exactly. He saw the actors, the stagehands. Sometimes they were really struggling.
With what? The props.
Yeah, cumbersome props, awkward set pieces, even things like doors that just didn't open smoothly or were placed badly.
Right, so the magic the audience saw was carefully planned, but the actual usability for the people making the magic happen, maybe not so much.
It was often an afterthought, and there's this story, this kind of pivotal moment for him. It sounds small, but
Go on.
he apparently saw an actor just repeatedly struggling with a badly positioned door on one of his sets.
Ah, not a huge disaster, just friction.
Yeah.
An everyday annoyance.
Exactly, just a persistent little inconvenience.
Mhm.
But seeing that actor's frustration, it sparked something in him, a real realization.
Okay, what was the thought?
It was something like, if he could shave space on a stage to tell a story effectively,
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't the world outside the theater be shaped to, well, better serve the people actually using it?
Ah, that's the shift. From designing for appearance or illusion?
To designing for the user,
Hmm.
for the human being, focusing on function and how people interact with things.
That's a pretty profound question to ask yourself, and it really marked this huge transition for him, didn't it?
Totally. He moved away from the drama of theater design and into this, well, it's kind of an emerging field back then.
Yeah.
Industrial design.
Taking that understanding of space, interaction, the human element.
And applying it to everyday objects, the stuff we all use.
And the timing was interesting too, right? This was moving into the 1930s, the Depression era.
Yeah, how did that play into it?
Well, with money tighter, there was this growing need for products that weren't just, functional.
But also appealing, easy to use.
Exactly. Appealing, yes, but crucially, easy and pleasant to interact with. That's where Dreyfuss's whole user-focused idea really started to, well, shine. It showed its value.
So give us an example. What was one of his early influential projects?
Okay, a big one was his work with Bell Telephone. Think about the desk phones back then.
Right, probably pretty clunky, heavy things.
Often, yeah. Not exactly designed with comfort in mind. But Dreyfuss redesigned it, leading to the Model 302 phone.
The Model 302, what was different?
It looked different, sure. More compact, softer curves, more inviting visually.
But it wasn't just aesthetics, I'm guessing.
Not at all. That was key. He dug into the ergonomics. Things like, what's the perfect distance between the mouthpiece and the earpiece for clarity and comfort?
Details you wouldn't even think about.
Right, or the angle of the rotary dial. How could it be positioned so it felt natural and easy to use? It wasn't just how the phone looked.
It was how it felt. To
Yeah.
hold it, speak into it, dial it.
The whole experience, the user's interaction became the absolute central point of the design.
And that really became his signature approach, didn't it? This deep focus on the actual person using the thing.
Absolutely. He worked with so many huge companies later on, Hoover, Honeywell, John Deere, American Airlines, Polaroid.
Wow, quite a list.
Yeah. And for every project, he brought that same core principle. The design has to serve the human, period.
Didn't he have a famous quote about that? Something about friction?
He did. It's a great one. When the point of contact between the product and the people becomes a point of friction, then the designer has failed.
That really sums it up, doesn't it? Good design should just disappear. It should be seamless.
You shouldn't have to wrestle with an object to make it work. It should feel intuitive.
And then, in the 50s, he put all this down in writing, right?
Yes, 1955, his book, Designing for People, which, I mean, the title says it all.
Yeah, pretty direct.
It wasn't just a technical guide. It was his whole philosophy laid out this human-centered way of approaching design.
Arguing that a product's real success isn't just how it looks,
But how effective it is, how easily real people can actually use it. Intuitively.
Now, to make this user focus really concrete, he developed these characters, Joe and Josephine.
That's right, Joe and Josephine. They weren't just like abstract ideas of the user.
No, what were they based on?
Real data, extensive anthropometric data. He gathered detailed measurements from thousands and thousands of Americans.
Wow, all sorts of body sizes and proportions.
Exactly, covering a wide range. And he used all that data to create these composite figures, Joe and Josephine, representing a broad spectrum of physical dimensions.
So when he was designing something new, like a chair or a control panel,
Or even the layout of an airplane cabin, yeah, he'd constantly ask, would Joe be able to reach that comfortably?
would Josephine be sitting correctly? Would her posture be supported?
Could they both easily see what they need to see, operate the controls without straining?
So he was basically pioneering ergonomics and human factors before those were even common terms.
Pretty much. By grounding everything in actual data about the human body and its limits and capabilities.
He made sure his designs weren't just nice to look at.
But genuinely functional, comfortable, safe, for all sorts of different people.
Okay, let's talk about one specific design everyone probably recognizes.
Yeah.
The Honeywell Round Thermostat.
Ah, yes. The classic round thermostat.
It's so simple, almost iconic. Just a circle, a dial. What's the big deal there?
Well, it's actually a perfect example of his principles at work. Think about it.
Okay.
No sharp corners, no complicated digital screen, no grid of tiny buttons you need a manual for.
It's just the dial.
Just a clean, simple, intuitive dial. You walk up, you turn it to the temperature you want. That's it.
It doesn't need instructions. The function is immediately obvious just by looking at it.
Exactly. It's elegant in its simplicity. And that was pretty revolutionary for a piece of common household tech back then.
No learning curve required.
Right. It didn't shout, look at me, I'm technology. It just quietly did its job.
And that seems key, doesn't it? Great design often just fades into the background because it's so easy to use.
That was exactly what Dreyfuss wanted. The object should serve its purpose without causing any frustration. Like that quote about friction, avoided at all costs.
He passed away back in 1972, Henry Dreyfuss. But his influence, it's still everywhere, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. His ideas about user-centered design are so fundamental now, we almost take them for granted. It's baked into how good products are made.
You see it in software design, website usability.
Definitely. User experience or UX design owes a massive debt to him. Think about airplane cockpits, too, designed for safety and efficiency based on pilot interaction.
Or even medical devices where intuitive use is critical.
Critical, yeah. And things like usability testing, understanding human factors in product development, that all has roots in Dreyfuss's work. It's interesting, too, one of his students was Don Norman.
Oh, who wrote The Design of Everyday Things?
The very same. That book really popularized a lot of these ideas even further for a new generation.
It doesn't seem like Dreyfuss was driven by wanting to be famous, though. What was his core motivation, do you think?
It really seems to have been this genuine desire to just make everyday life a bit better, a bit easier for people.
Through design, one object at a time.
Exactly. His legacy isn't in flashy monuments. It's in the quiet competence of things that just work. The things that fit seamlessly into our lives and make them smoother, more comfortable, more intuitive, often without us even noticing why they work so well.
So let's loop back then to that first question we asked.
The thermostat, the phone, the airplane seat, the ruler.
What do they have in common?
They all carry that, you could say, invisible fingerprint of Henry Dreyfuss's thinking.
Each one, in its way, answers his fundamental question.
How can this serve people better?
And that question guided his entire career.
Absolutely. He spent his life trying to answer it through design.
So maybe the next time you use something, anything, and it just feels right, you know, it works exactly how you expect it to.
Take a beat. Appreciate the thought that went into it, even if it's invisible.
Yeah. Because chances are you're feeling the impact of Henry Dreyfuss and his focus on designing for people. What else might we start noticing now just in our daily routines?